last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States, and I have been traveling our country, and I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground.
Yes, that's how she's known. She's Miss Common Ground, right? MSNBC will come out and say that I've called her 630-9625. We're keeping our ear to the ground on the looming Hurricane Milton, which is headed toward Tampa, Florida, the central west coast of the state of Florida. It's ripping through the Gulf of Mexico. It is a giant hurricane, and they're saying that it's going to be very, very destructive in the tidal surge, and they're ordering evacuations, and the mayor of Tampa, Florida, has said, get out or you may die. You may die, and she is a little more forceful than that even. Pretty remarkable thing going on there. And Hurricane Kamala, who is common as she got, and she's got a lot in common. She did an interview with 60 Minutes, which didn't air on Sunday night, but it aired on Monday night without explanation, at least not that I found. I didn't go looking for an explanation, but it aired Monday night. I think for more than half century, 60 Minutes has been on Sunday night, but never mind that. It had its moments, the interview with Kamala, and I want to share a bunch of that with you because there are some things to comment on, I think. Bill Whitaker was the CBS News reporter that did the interview with Kamala, and he didn't do an absolutely horrible, terrible job, but, you know, it's the old, and he had a couple of follow-ups, but they're not very aggressive follow-ups, and when she continues to BS him, he just lets it slide. There was a lot of that going on. And I want to get to a bunch of that. I do. And before we do, I think we should go back to the telephones. We've got Brian calling from Orlando, Florida, who is in the path of the giant Hurricane Milton. And you have Governor DeSantis there. You've got the federal government and FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And I'd be interested in hearing from Brian what things are looking like in Orlando right now. Brian, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Oh, hang on.
Before.
We got a glitch. Sorry, Brian. There you are now.
Mr. Plant,
Yes,
love your
sir.
show. We spoke before. So we are blessed by God for having Governor DeSantis. He is excellent. He's on TV. He gives updates every 2 hours. He's phenomenal. But that's not really the reason why I called. I'm originally from Massachusetts, and I remember when I was about 6 years old, we went through the blizzard of 78. I lived in Hull, and we lost power, and we actually survived the cold by – my dad was able to put his beer outside, so that stayed cold. That wasn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. But
one of the benefits of winter in the northern hemisphere.
Northeast, yes, sir. So we lived off of a gas stove, and we turned the gas on and actually heated up the room. And we had to we lived in the kitchen, basically, and we had to put walls up with blankets to keep the heat in the kitchen. And that was my beginning with prepping and learning from hurricanes, Hurricane Charlie and the other hurricanes that we've had. I have prepared myself to be able to survive probably a year with food and water and everything else that you need.
Okay.
And protection and everything else. Former military, Marines.
Marine?
And,
okay, wonderful.
Yes, sir. But prepping right now, when you go to the store, people are being cordial. They're still being nice to each other. No horns blowing or anything like that. But there's nothing on the shelves. The water. I went up there just to go nitpicking around, and I needed some water, some milk. And I have powdered milk, but that doesn't taste as good as regular Publix milk. But I've been to Walmart and all the stores in this local area, the Publix, Winn-Dixie, they're all wiped out. and it's pretty chaotic out there right now because people didn't prepare for this, and they have no idea I have no idea what's in store for us. I'm in the Orlando area, not exactly Orlando, but I'm 15 minutes from Orlando.
Yeah.
And we're going to get smacked, but we do have a competent person in charge here in the state, and he has activated everybody. He's gone around and picked up the majority of the trash that they have down in Tampa and the other areas that have already been hit.
Yeah.
Cedar Key, and but Floridians, we're pretty prepared down here, and like Governor DeSantis says, it's a Second Amendment state, so I wouldn't go messing around, and that is something that most people down here, they understand.
Yeah.
And
there were
criminals,
some in, where was it? It may have been Tennessee even, where a gang of illegal aliens were looting homes and actually invaded home, young men, military-age illegal alien men, looting homes after Hurricane Helene and invading one home. And I know the police arrested these 4 illegal aliens, but it is something you have to, when the social fiber begins to unravel, there are nefarious actors living among us who will behave predictably and accordingly, and being able to defend your home is a very important reality for men, for women, for the heads of households and families. It is an important thing, and if you're like Kamala Harris, you might own a Glock, because she said that 60 Minutes, and she's been to the range, and she's fired the gun, and she cackled. I think she might shoot all the wrong people if it came down to it, but that's another thing. Well, Brian, look, you're a Marine, so you've got it up on everybody, and your 1978 blizzard in New England story is a great story, and your father using, and I've done this before, where you got to use, it's why I kind of insist on having gas in the home as well as electric. I don't want to live in a place that's all electric, because sometimes you might need that gas. The electricity goes out. Oh, really? Your oven goes out? All your sources of heat go out? But if you have gas, independent from the electric, you can heat your home, and you can heat your food, and you can boil water, and you can do all kinds of important things, because fire is important. Right, Brian?
Yes, sir. Propane is paramount down here. I have a propane. It's a dual-operated generator. I have several of them. I have a solar generator. I've never used it, but I have it as backup.
Yeah.
But
you're prepared.
Yeah, the cold. We would have froze to death. In
1978. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that
gas
stove. Gas stove is key to good living. It really is. I'm a big fan of the gas stove. And
thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Thanks, Brian. And if you have a gas fireplace, that's a really handy thing, too, in an emergency situation. And again, I ran into this nice woman at the Wool Festival in Virginia over the weekend. What was I doing there? I don't know. There were sheep, and my best girl and I were there talking to a nice woman who was selling wool, talking about the house she's building with her sister that they're going to move into, and how she has become, she didn't use the word prepper, but they have a generator, and they have solar, and they have their own water pump, and they've got, all the things you need if the grid shuts down on you. And that may be from a hurricane. It may be from the Democrats being dissatisfied with the results of the presidential election. You never know where it's going to happen. But let's go to some audio, because we've got audio on the subject, too. And again, there have been these giant storms. Not everything is climate change, but the Democrats want to politicize absolutely everything. Your children, they want to politicize. Gender, they want to politicize. Your children's gender, they want to politicize. The weather, whether it's hot today and cold tomorrow, they've politicized it all, because they're not liberals, they're the left. But giant hurricanes throughout our history, including Tampa, and honestly, the giant Tampa hurricane of 1848, which was a mamma jamma, as they used to say back then, and the Galveston hurricane of 1900, where maybe 8,000 people, maybe 12,000 people were killed. Amazing things. And, your electric vehicles may not be hey, it was a great idea until this happened, but not so much anymore. All right, let's go to some audio here because the news media is stirring up trouble all over the place, as they always do. Let's go to this fake reporter from NBC Fake News saying that Ron DeSantis, this is out on the tarmac. There's an NBC fake reporter out on the tarmac, and you got Marine One back there. I'm sure Air Force One was right over there, the helicopter and the airplane. And the reporter says, well, Ron DeSantis is ignoring your calls, the governor of Florida. And there was a big hurricane, Helene, and now there's another hurricane, Milton, heading there, and he's not taking your calls. Now, first of all, is she the hurricane czar now? Because she hasn't been very good at czaring anything else. But if she's the hurricane czar, then we're all in deeper than we thought. Now, it turns out the governor of Florida has been on the phone with Joe Biden, who is amazingly the president of the United States, and he's been on the phone with the head of FEMA, this Deanna Criswell woman, and he's taking care of business because he's large and in charge, But here's the NBC fake news reporter saying, just trying to stir up a conflict. And Kamala is so dumb, she walked right into it.
NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
Moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Put the people first. Now, she's trying to figure out what to say because she has no idea how to respond. So this cupcake with the NBC out on the tarmac, and somebody else at NBC is saying that Ron DeSantis is refusing to take your calls.
People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
Yeah, it's utterly selfish, playing political games. She has no idea what the discussion is even about, but she starts attacking and playing political games and being selfish. Just amazing stuff. And Ron DeSantis was asked about this, all this stirred up by NBC fake news. Ron DeSantis was on with Sean Hannity last night on the Fox News Channel, and naturally was asked about this.
For Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this.
And he's having none of this. She has never been a point of contact in previous hurricanes or previous natural disasters, and now she's running for office. So now there's phony stuff, and she's throwing Molotov cocktails here.
Saying you're not aware of that, and if so, how are you not aware of that?
So Biden called me a couple days ago with Helene when I was on the helicopter. I didn't have any issues. They had helped us with what we've done. I'm not aware that he's tried to call since then. Certainly hasn't called my phone, so I don't know quite where they're getting that information. At the same time, we got the approvals that we need. If there's something else that we need, I'll hop on the phone very quickly, whether that's the FEMA administrator or the president, and we will press the case to be able to get approvals for what we need in Florida. But we have gotten approvals for everything that we've asked for.
And NBC fake news and Kamala Harris and her idiot campaign are just jumping in. Oh, yeah, he's selfish and reckless, and this is a time to come together. And she doesn't even, she probably never even tried to call him. It's just a media fabrication. And our media is the most corrupt institution in America, the most awful institution in America, honestly. Please. More on, we've got more on that. And Kamala on 60 Minutes, she's got a Glock. Think she'll use it on her, girlfriend beating husband? Because he's been known to, know what I'm saying? You know, America's strength is not just built, it's worn. For those who put in the hours to get things done, G-Defy shoes are made right for you. With patented VersaShock technology, G-Defy doesn't just talk about comfort, they engineer it. Every step you take, G-Defy shoes help to absorb harmful shocks and provide trampoline-like energy return for your feet. My best girl and I have G-Defy shoes, hiked all over the city in them. My best girls are even hiking sandals. They're cool. Great for hiking around and keeping your feet in good shape. Your feet feel better than they did before you started the hike. After you're done, designed for hardworking people, for parents, for people who stand tall no matter what. Go to gdefy.com and use the code Chris for $20 off your pair of G-Defy shoes. That's Chris for $20 off today, because strong foundations start with solid steps. That's gdefy.com. Yes, sir. Yeah, you know, the media, they politicize things that don't need to be politicized because they're awful, aren't they? It's almost impossible to disdain the media enough. Let's go to a quick phone call. Let's go to John, calling from Hope, Rhode Island, the man from Hope. John, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
It's a great show. Listen to you every day. Yes, I do live in Hope and sometimes on it, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
The reason for the call. Yes, good joke. We were talking about the hurricane 1938.
Yes.
My mother told me a story when she was about 10 years old. She was walking home when that hurricane happened in Rhode Island. So Rhode Island got hit very badly during that storm, too. I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well. Rhode Island got hit, as crazy as that sounds.
That was a gigantic storm. It was one of the biggest, baddest storms ever. And, you think about it, we think of them hitting Florida, right, and maybe the Carolinas and the Gulf Coast. But Rhode Island and New York for one of the biggest hurricanes. Was that climate change, John?
Absolutely, yes, climate change. It was called a hurricane.
Yeah, it was called, that's exactly right, yeah. First it was calm, and then there was a hurricane, and that's what we used to call climate change. Now it's different because the Democrats found a way to get rich off of it. Ah, yes. Breaking news out of the Joe Biden White House. Joe Biden was scheduled to travel day after tomorrow, first to Berlin, because Joe Biden wanted to go there to celebrate Kristallnacht. You know, the Democrat Party, every Nacht is Kristallnacht. Last night was Kristallnacht in New York at Columbia University and beyond. And they were burning and destroying American flags and Israeli flags because the Democrats have raised them, and now they disguise themselves as terrorists, wrapping their heads in the Palestinian headdresses and so on. But Joe Biden, we have just learned, is canceling his trip to Africa, which is racist, ahead of Hurricane Milton hitting Florida. Biden was scheduled to depart for Berlin on Thursday and then travel to Angola. If you're going to say Kyiv, if you're going to pronounce Kiev, because that's how some of the locals do, then you have to pronounce Berlin, Berlin, like Colonel Klink. You got to have Berlin. You can't just say Berlin. That's the American pronunciation of Berlin. And since the Democrats are going with Kyiv, they have to go with Berlin as well. But Joe Biden was going to leave aboard Air Force One day after tomorrow, go to Berlin. He's a little early for Kristallnacht because, that was November 9th and 10th, but maybe just stay there until then. The Democrat Party, they're so much like the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany these days that, they're together as never before. But President Biden, Yamich Al-Sindor, now with NBC News. She got a promotion for being a radical anti-Trump rabble-rouser in the White House briefing room. Yamich Al-Sindor, types, and I love this. Listen to President Joe Biden has postponed his overseas trip this week due to Hurricane Milton, according to two sources familiar with the planning. She has two secret sources, and they went to her because she's a black woman and she has a funny name, Yamich Al-Sindor, which is great. Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Al-Sindor. But that's not important now. It's according to two sources because the White House hasn't told anybody. It's a secret. But she's got two secret sources that told her. Biden was scheduled to depart for Berlin on Thursday and then travel to Angola, returning to the U.S. on October 15th. I don't do an Angola accent. But would mark the first time Biden would travel to the African continent as president. But we do know that he's been there before because the African continent, because he talked about how he was arrested with Nelson Mandela and all this stuff when he was in Africa. It was all fake. It was all untrue. It was all a big lie. But when you're a Democrat, that's not a problem. In Angola, Biden was slated to meet with President João Lourenço. And now he's not going to meet with João Lourenço because he's not going to Africa because of the looming hurricane that is headed toward Florida. And they're taking a little bit of political grief over their flat-footed response to the last hurricane, Hurricane Helene. And like, hey, gosh, I've only got days left as president. I better make it look like I'm interested in doing the job. Amazing stuff. And Joe Biden, we're being told, is going to come out at some point today, maybe sooner rather than later, and talk about their hurricane preparedness because they're taking a little bit of a beating, not from NBC News or the Washington Post. They're getting a tongue bath from NBC News and the Washington Post. But Joe Biden, racist that he is, didn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle. He's canceling his only trip to Africa as president because the hurricane is coming and he doesn't want to look like he could care less. Isn't that remarkable? Now let's go to soundbite number 5, Michael, because the mayor in Tampa Bay, Tampa, Florida, they have a mayor there, and the mayor is Jane Castor. Jane Castor is the mayor, and she was on CNN, right? CNN, and she wants to warn people to get the heck out of Dodge because this giant hurricane coming in is a massive monster, and you should really get out of there. She's a Democrat, and she's 63 years old. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
This is literally catastrophic, and I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Wow. I mean, that is an incredibly blunt message, and I know you have a lot of experience dealing with these storms. You don't say something like that lightly, Mayor.
She knows all about it.
I've never said that.
Caitlin Collins apparently knows all about the mayor of Tampa Bay, Florida, Jane Castor, and all of her proclivities and tendencies. Isn't that remarkable? Yes, it is. Now, the Biden-Harris administration, this is Kamala's Katrina. Kamala's Katrina. The first place I saw it called Kamala's Katrina was on my show at Newsmax. A great producer that we have there, Carly Comito, was calling it Kamala's Katrina, I think long before anyone else. Remarkable stuff. But let's go to the mayor of Anderson, South Carolina, whose name is Derek Roberts. Derek Roberts was asked how things are going down there and what kind of relief they're getting, courtesy of FEMA.
My daughter, whose house got completely wiped out, she has no flood insurance, meets with a FEMA person, applies for everything. Doesn't get the $750 that Kamala says that she's supposed to get, gets approved for $300 for personal items. What is that going to do?
What is that? Hey, here's $300. I know your house is wiped out. You're out on the street, and you're another thing people with electric cars are learning, and this is this is a terrible thing, but another thing that people with electric cars are learning is that when electric cars are submerged in water, they can catch on fire. And because it's a chemical fire, it'll even burn underwater, and it's a pretty crazy reality. Your electricity goes out, and how long is it before your electric car is no good? And where do you go to charge your car if you're trying to flee Florida in your electric car? And the headline from Verify, yes, electric vehicles can catch fire after being submerged by floods. Possible for electric cars to catch fire after being submerged even weeks after a flood. So, and also, you see, last week I told you a story about the electric cars, and then people were being told to take them out of your garage because your batteries could just catch fire spontaneously in your garage and burn your whole house down. So they were telling people to remove their electric cars. Which one was that? It was one of the major electric car manufacturers. And say, get your cars, your electric cars, your battery-powered cars out of your garages because the batteries could just catch fire spontaneously, and you don't want that. But isn't that amazing? Yeah, so the mayor, Derek Roberts, he's talking about his daughter's house, and FEMA said doesn't even get the $750, got $300 because that's what the government is offering. Isn't that great? I'm telling you, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, right? So let's go because there's another, and I think the guy didn't want his last name being used, but he just went by the name David. He's in North Carolina, and people are so concerned now about so many different things that you've been flooded out. You're being interviewed by television news people, and they ask you what you think, and it's bad news for the government. And that's when you decide, I don't think I want to use my full name here. Because you're worried about the creepy people, and the creepy people are everywhere. But North Carolina resident named David, and that's all he wanted to know, and talking about Kamala saying, oh, we've got $750 for you and $147 million for Lebanon.
Where are you? These people have lost their homes, they've lost their businesses, they've lost everything, and they need some support. They need help. And $750 is not much help.
Yeah, and then when Mayor Derek Roberts told this story, his daughter, having her home wrecked, applied for the $750, and she was told, well, here's $300. We'll give you $300. Well, why would that be? I played the audio yesterday of the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, saying more than a year ago that they're out of money and that they're using the money to distribute illegal aliens around the country and to pay for hotels and free food and cell phones and all the stuff for people that are here illegally, like the Venezuelan gangs that are causing havoc all over the country, that the Democrats are funding. Pretty amazing. They're subsidizing Venezuelan gangs. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has a director. Her name is Deanne Criswell. Deanne Criswell saying, well, gee, I don't know. I mean, I know it's the first week of the fiscal year, but we're already out of money.
We don't have enough money to continue throughout the rest of the year. And we went into immediate needs funding earlier in the year to make sure we could do just what we've been doing through Helene, as well as now the preparations for Milton.
Yeah, we don't have no money. What, money? Come on, where do you think we're going to get money from? We're just the federal government. Here's $300. Shut up. So we got to send too much money to Ukraine. What do we send, $200 billion to Ukraine? They're not waiting. They don't have to apply online, do they? They just got another $8 billion a couple of weeks ago. First, it was going to be $375 million for Ukraine in that tranche. And then it was going to be $2.5 billion. And then it's going to be $8 billion. $8 billion. And then it's, hey, here's your $8 billion. Hey, buy another house in Switzerland. You know, what do you want? Update your boat. I know your yacht is probably. So Peter Doocey of the Fox News Channel yesterday at the briefing with Cringe. Did you see Cringe wearing her gangster outfit, her Guys and Dolls outfit? And I thought she was going to start singing There Ain't Nothing Like a Dame. It looked like she was going to start doing high kicks and singing There Ain't Nothing Like a Dame. She's wearing a dark gray, medium gray, like a chuck stripe gangster suit with a peak lapel. And it looked like she had a gun packed under there and kind of, what would you call that, a puce shirt? What was that? Maybe fuchsia? Might have been one of those words. And she looked like she was packing a gun, like she had a piece. And also, if you look at her left sleeve, it looked like it was way oversized, the suit, way oversized. It was like Guys and Dolls or a zoot suit. And on her left sleeve, it looked like the paper tag from the store was still on the sleeve of the jacket, like she's going to return it today after wearing it. But Peter Doocey tried to get a straight answer about this funding issue.
On this issue of funding, the administration has money to send to Lebanon without Congress coming back. But Congress does have to come back to approve money to send to people in North Carolina. Do I have that right?
Here's what I'm going to be very clear about. The president and the vice president has had a robust whole of government response to this. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I said it at the top, more than $200 million. But instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous.
But she's accusing Peter Doocey of doing misinformation, disinformation, which they want to outlaw and make criminal, as Hillary Clinton was saying recently. And Peter Doocey was literally looking confused by her response.
President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Ma'am.
it's misinformation.
No, it's not, sir. He should have said, no, it's not, sir, back to her, since she's dressed like, Nathan Detroit over there. And by the way, Kamala tweeted, what was it, day before yesterday, over the weekend? She wrote, I'm concerned about the security and well-being of civilians suffering in Lebanon. Oh, really? The Hezbollah people that are attacking the Jews and trying to wipe the country off the map? And we'll continue working to help meet the needs of all civilians there. Yeah, Hezbollah, are they the civilians too? To that end, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon. Those are the Lesbianese people, right? That's kidding. And then an hour later, Kamala tweeted, because somebody said, hey, maybe you should say something about money for the hurricane victims. And an hour later, an hour and 5 minutes later, she tweeted, or somebody did, today I announced that Biden-Harris administration would provide $100 million to repair I-40, Interstate 40, a major artery for western North Carolina. That was an afterthought. That was maybe we should say something about money for the hurricane zone. But first, you got $157 million. That's their priority for Lebanon because they're trying to wipe Israel off the map. I don't think these people are on our side. You know that the best-selling Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier uses Oxy technology that helps to quickly destroy a whole lot of viruses, odors, mold, things floating around the air in your home, in your office. With thousands of 5-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet, you know it works like a champ. We've got 2 of them at home ourselves. Any smell will vanish after just a few seconds with the thunderstorm being on. Talking about odors from trash cans and cigarette smoke, your mother-in-law's cooking, left-wing protesters. No match for the powerful thunderstorm, which sends out O3 molecules to seek out and help destroy odors. These molecules even go behind and underneath furniture. Nothing can hide from the thunderstorm. And really, a great thing, you don't have to buy filters over and over again and replace them on a schedule like some air purifiers. And you can hold a thunderstorm in your hand, just like this. You can hold it right in your hand like this. Right now, you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for a whole home protection. You get 3 units for under $200. So you can put one in your basement, your teenager's room, your master bedroom, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air, which is good. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS, and the number 3 to save $200. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Bum-ba-da-da-da-bum. Well, I think we've seen what their values are and what their priorities are, even if they won't admit them. And then Cringe stamped her little feet away, dressed like Nathan Detroit. And she stamped out of there. I'm not answering any questions about values. I'm going to go return the suit that I'm wearing for a full refund.
That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir.
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Ah, yes, Tim Walz saying the First Amendment doesn't protect misinformation, and then Cringe calls Peter Doocey's question in the White House briefing misinformation. And Hillary Clinton, of course, said last week that we might have to take legal action, civil legal action, or even criminal legal action against people that spread what the Democrat Party calls misinformation. And that misinformation might be a question at the White House briefing about why they're not getting the job done in the disaster response in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. These people are the left. These people are not liberals. Their values are not American values. Peter Doocey raised the question of values. These are not American values. I don't recognize these values as American values. And the White House press secretary, and now senior advisor to the president, too, she got a promotion yesterday. More money for Cringe.